Well, in my culture, it's whenever you're invited somewhere, you first acknowledge what we call in Ivrit, the Balach Sanya, the people that are hosting. So first I want to acknowledge the people that are hosting this program, and of course to Dr. Razadi, ultimately is going to go further in his potential, and Mr. Bethel, thank you for your encouraging. Am I getting your name correctly? Thank you. And to follow Dr. Artian, I'm not sure I'll be able to follow such a great act, but I'll try to reach my own human potential today. All right. So you can see today's title is Labeling, Removing Barriers, or Reaching One's Potential. Paying attention to the many of the questions in the audience. It talks about one's potential. When we achieve our own potential, it has an infectious effect, and it spreads to everyone else in a positive way. You'll also notice that on your tables I've put a calendar. I'll kind of tell you a little bit about that when we talk about potential in relationship to mental illness. Mental illness, immediate thought associations. Anybody have a thought? Want to share your thought? Mental illness, what runs through your mind? Is this the Ghostbusters event? No, just clear. What?
It could be caused by stress.
Caused by stress. I'm going to become schizophrenic soon, I'm telling you. Anything else as thought associations? Yes?
I'm sorry, I have to be very blunt but crazy.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much. Thank you, yes.
Well, the stigma is to overcome.
I'm sorry?
The stigma.
A stigma, thank you. Stigma, crazy. Yes? You want to say something, man?
Someone who's very mad and angry.
Mad and angry. That's all these immediate thought associations. So keep that in mind, and as we go through these different frames. Traditionally, we have the model has been illness-centered. Illness-centered has the following types of approaches to mental illness. One, the diagnosis is the foundation. There is an illness assessment. Services are based on diagnosis and treatment model. Treatment is symptom-driven and rehabilitation is disability-driven. Recovery from the illness sometimes results after the illness, and then the disabilities are taken care of. In summary, the illness-centered basically is focused on the illness. If you're diabetic, you walk in to a party, here comes Mr. Diabetic. Where's the human being? No, he's diabetic. The identity is associated. The disease labels the person, rather than the person overshadows the disease. Illness Center continue. They track the illness, progress towards symptom reduction and cure, use techniques to promote illness and control, and reduction of risk of damage from the illness. Services end when the illness is cured. It's like we stop growing. What do we stop growing? What's developmentally? We stop growing at 18, 20? How tall we become? Services end when the illness is cured. The relationship only exists to treat the illness and must be carefully restricted throughout, keeping it professional. Okay, well, of course, we're going to always behave professional. Let's talk about behaving in a human way to other people. We want to make a cognitive shift, and that's what we're doing today. I don't know if people are keeping up. Working with mentally ill individuals who are challenged, there are more what we call evidence-based therapies. I'll be talking about a few of those today in the frames. The point here is to raise some consciousness raising, to kind of walk you through many of the new progressive ways of looking at mental illness and in general to human mankind. We talk about the recovery model. This is the model that is being used at many places that I'm consulting and doing training. Recovery model is person-centered. We're not illness-centered. We're interested in the person. It's people can achieve stability and meaningful lives despite their mental illness. And it is a consumer collaboration. You're not a patient, you're not really, even though he's a client, you are a consumer. And we believe in good customer service, something people forget, and peer support. Dr. Mark Reagans, who's in the Village in Long Beach, if you want to learn more about the program, it's a remarkable program of what they are doing. You would not know the difference between those that are diagnosed as mentally ill and those that are claiming that they're helping the mentally ill. Sometimes it's quite the reverse. Okay. There are 4 fluid stages: hope, empowerment, self-responsibility, and attaining meaningful roles in life. A language that, up until many years ago, was not applied to people who suffer mental illness. Not only that, this is applicable across the board to any human being, to all of us here. So this is so relevant to the whole world, to give hope, empowerment, self-responsibility, and attaining meaningful roles, rather than, although I'm not very politically savvy, I have to admit, I will share one thing with you. If you just want to, as you look at me here, how many people would like to guess, I'll give you another calendar, where I was born and raised? Anybody want to take a guess? Yes?
Jerusalem.
Wrong. But close to it. You're good, you're good.
New York.
Brooklyn. You're getting, anybody else want to guess where I was born and raised?
New York.
New York? Not quite. But I'm working on it. What? Not even close to New York. Not. Okay, I'll make it quick because we have time. I was born and raised in Memphis, Tennessee. All right? I'm all shook up. All right? Do you know Elvis? How many people know Elvis Presley? All right, that's in the blues. I grew up there. My parents were sole survivor immigrants from the Holocaust. So you see a little southern boy here. Reagan goes on with his person-centered theory. The relationship is the foundation. Even though we have a relationship with somebody, we have a relationship with a man or person, individual. The individual cannot function on their own. Begin with welcoming, outreach, and engagement, a new way of recovery. Services are based on personal suffering and help needed. Services work toward quality of life goals. Treatment and rehabilitation are goal-driven. Personal recovery is central from beginning to end. We're all, I think I'm on personal recovery all the time. Person-centered, I'll continue. We track personal services toward recovery. Use techniques to promote personal growth and self-responsibility. Services end when the person manages their own life and attains meaningful roles. The relationship may change and grow throughout and continue after the services end. We talk about the humanistic movement. I will tell you one of my political views of education. Maybe I'll share that with you, with my students that I train. I train about 25 to 30 students a year from different universities. And one of the issues I find is that most of the schools are traditional in this psychopathological model. Everything is taught. There are two models basically now in school, kind of. It's basically the psychodynamic, people are the psychopathological model, and then of course the more CBT, cognitive behavioral model. We'll talk a little bit about the cognitive behavioral model, and then of course we throw a little bit of the systems in. Systems is a valuable, model. I don't address it in this presentation, but I'm going to talk about it as I walk through this, the rest of the frames with you. Because we want to talk about the humanistic model, the humanistic theory of psychology, of human interaction, which brings back the human being into the picture rather than the focus on the illness and on the labeling, the stigma, the negative terminology that gets associated. Oh, you're just disabled. You are diseased. You are mentally ill. No, you have this problem and this challenge, but guess what? You can make life-attaining goals. You can make progress in life. There are things that you can do that are very meaningful to you because guess what? Every one of us are here for a reason. And even today, nothing brought us here by chance. Humanism mechanism, right, let me just go back to that. Right. Humanism, God, nature, man is positive. Inner potential for positive growth. Man is thinking, creative, and growth-oriented. How we think about others is going to make the impact of how we're going to affect change. Maslow's hierarchy of needs. Dr. Artin was talking about, we have people that are poor, you can't eat. It's all you're going to be thinking about, right? What are you going to eat? Developed in 1940 to 50s, it's a motivational model. The goal removes impediment to personal growth, self-actualization. Maslow had 5 stages, still does, of actualization. We really start from this point up. Okay, I'm trying this. Doesn't work. Okay, this is the first stage we all start at, biological, physical needs, air, drink, food, shelter, warmth, sex, sleep. And this is how we move up the actualization, pyramid. It's a pyramid to visualize it. The client-centered, continued humanistic model, we're going to see certain common denominators. We're all speaking the same language. Client-centered, Carl Rogers, person-centered, non-directive, we reflect feelings. We summarize conflict. We give unconditional positive regard. The client is worthy and capable no matter what the client does or says. Create safe and non-judgmental atmosphere. It'd be a great utopia, wouldn't it? It'd be nice if every country could work like this, right? Okay, looking beyond the medical model, non-pathological view of a person, you are a human being. You're not the disease. Downplays pathological aspects of a person's life in favor of healthier components. Rogerian concepts are growth, genuineness, respect, empathy, and warmth. Take a moment. There's a calendar some of you could look at. When I came to a facility in San Pedro called Harborview House, about 20 years ago, or whatever, I walked in, and it's 5 stories, 250 clients, running around, smoking, screaming, yelling, etc. It looked like one flew over the, well, actually 250 flew over the cuckoo's nest. And I was asked to come for an interview to become a psychologist there. Well, I almost left and went home. I said, this is just too much. And I walked over to I remember one of the residents, I walked over and I said, that's a beautiful doll, and she made a very comment, do not touch her parts. And I said, fine, just want to tell you what a beautiful doll you have, that's it, and so forth. Proceeded to take the position, but what I found is that everyone just basically walked around and smoked and sat around pacing back and forth, getting into fights, yelling, screaming, etc. So quickly started establishing, we're going to have some groups, we're going to all sit down, we're going to have cookies and coffee. One of my favorite jokes is I said 1 cup of coffee per person. One of the patients walks over, client says, takes 2 cups of coffee. He says, you know there's only 1 cup of coffee per person. He says, Dr. Rubenstein, don't you know I'm schizophrenic? And I said, you know, you're right. You get 2 cups of coffee. Don't spread the word though. 2 cookies also, right? No smoking during the group because I couldn't breathe. I can't breathe. Ultimately, they stopped smoking. They started coming. They were very good at analyzing each other. You know, like, oh, that person's really out of their box today, Dr. Rubenstein. I said, no, that's my assistant. Be careful. All right. Okay, 20 years ago, the place is pandemonium. I invite you, when you want to come down to Harborview House in San Pedro, we have an art gallery based on the Living Museum back east at Creedmoor State Hospital, 25,000 square feet. I'd love to have a penthouse like that, all right? Where everyone does artwork, whatever they want to do to create, and they have identities. They are artists, they are musicians, they are not mentally ill. So you can look through that and see some of the great art, which we sell, by the way. You can buy that too. By the way, comment on empathy. Research shows that the #1, you don't have to be a great psychologist. I learned that. Just use empathy. That's all I do. That's it. Be empathic, just be yourself, and that has the most impact. It's not how much you say, it's what vibes you give off. All right? This is Motivation Interview, Miller and Rowland, good guys. They've been working for about 20, 25 years with the cognitive behavioral humanistic model, and they finally got some acceptance. See, it takes time. As Dr. Ardeen said, change happens within time. It doesn't happen just quickly. The quicker it comes, the quicker it goes. Okay? Even to overcome a government, and again, I know very little about politics, takes time. So everything takes time. And that's where we evolve, as Dr. Ardeen was talking about. See how much I was paying attention to. All right? I'm sure everyone else was as well. So they were recently in the American Psychologist, that they now are accepted. They've gained some credibility. We're evidence-based. I don't know what that means. It sounds like one of those CIA movies. What is it? Those CSI movies? You're evidence-based. Designed to enhance clients' own motivation to change using empathy. By the way, I had no idea that the chronology of the frames that I was doing for this, I had no idea what chronology I was doing. I just did it. And it's interesting, right after empathy, this frame came up. Non-confrontational. People are ambivalent about change. Are there resistant clients? Is there such thing as resistant clients? Well, guess what? Some of my interns went to a workshop and they said, guess what? We went to a workshop called There Are No Resistant Clients, Only Resistant Therapists. Okay. I wasn't resistant, I listened. All right? And normalizes the lack of motivation as unresolved ambivalence. Okay, we can become ambivalent. Do I go to this party? Do I not go to this party? Do I invite this person or not invite this person? What do I do? So ambivalence is part of life. There's no way around it, right? Just like suffering is, and joy, and everything. Every emotion is part of life. Motivation review process: elicit client change, respect autonomy, tolerate client ambivalence, help individuals explore consequences of choice being considered. One of the things I do as a clinical director back east, one of the companies has about 200 psychologists that I do a QA on. You know what QA means? Quality assurance. It means we look at their documentation, etc. One of the things we look at, there's an interesting thing called the minimum data set. This is what basically sets up care for everyone in a nursing home. No nursing home can operate without a minimal data set. And what they did is they changed this whole care plan last year, about a year ago. I got to go to Las Vegas for a week. Guess what? I never got to gamble. I got to sit at a conference day and night learning about this stuff, and I couldn't even have time to go out and get a drink, which I could have used. All right? But what they found is, guess what? We want to hear what the residents have to say. What do dementia people have to say? People who are diagnosed with dementia, a lot of them are underdiagnosed, overdiagnosed. Is this a growing field? Because we are getting older. And a lot of people are getting misdiagnosed or underdiagnosed. But they interview the residents now. They've interviewed 8,000 residents across the country. 86% were able to respond to these brief interview status things, depressive scales. It's just phenomenal. So we have to remember that our assumptions can really derail us, and how we can bring out the human quality and include individuals, and particularly when you're in a nursing home. When I do a lot of in-services at nursing homes, guess what people do not raise their hand for? How many people would like to win a night stay at this nursing home? I get nobody. Not even the residents say, I don't want it. Okay? All right, so we keep going to elicit change, help individual, and look at consequences. When I'm looking at consequences and choices, schizophrenics, bipolars, I work with a lot of them. Let me tell you something. I've worked in 25 years. I've probably seen thousands of chronically challenged people who suffer mental illness. And it's unbelievable. I've worked with developmentally disabled. I have learned so much. It's amazing what they know. And of course, we're not talking about comatose individuals, as my wife claims I am many times when it comes to taking out the garbage. Could you please wake up? All right? And then there's affirmations, reflection, summaries. We're never telling the client what to do. We're never giving them interpretations. We're not saying, well, you must be angry. Well, no, maybe you are angry, Doc. I'm not angry. I don't know what your problem is. Okay, stages of change. Okay? I sit with a lot of couples. I work with a lot of couples and families now because this becomes very helpful for me. It focuses me in treatment because I can help them understand when they're working in a relationship and with their children, with their teenagers, how to help with them. By the way, all of these things I want you, and you're probably thinking it because we're all one mind here thinking, these are so applicable to the world. It's not like, this is like in a vacuum. By the way, how many people have been to Las Vegas? Raise your hand. Okay. Played the slot machines? How many want to admit they've lost? Okay. Do you know what the slot machines are based on? Okay. All right. What? Skinnerian? Who said Skinnerian? Yeah, Skinnerian psychology. He had what's called, he took pigeons, which not nice, and he said, you know what, if I have these pigeons keep pecking, I'm going to give them a lot of pellets right now. They're going to feel they got a lot of money, right? No money, give me money. When I shouldn't say this, but when Reagan took off, it was Reagan who took off when, that you could make as much money as you want. You don't have to pay like 20%, right? That's thanks to that, right? So Wall Street people say, oh yeah, let's just go in and take all the money we want. And some of it was my stocks that I invested in, all right? And they just went in and got all that money because Reagan said, hey, you don't have to pay much tax. You can make a lot of money. Isn't that great? Thank you so much. And then you can run for office, and then we'll take care of you forever. You know how much a senator gets paid? What they get after they retire? Unbelievable. I don't even know what. My kids ask me for a retirement plan. I said, what's that? It's working, all right? So here we are, going with the stages of change, pre-contemplated. They're not considered, they're not aware, right? I'm kind of, because I don't know much about positive, but I'm following, I'm being a good student with Dr. Martine, that some countries are not even waking up. They're asleep, right? They're not even thinking. Or people aren't thinking. Then we go into contemplative. Maybe we want to consider, maybe I do, I don't. It sounds like you do want to quit drinking. Sounds like you don't want to quit drinking. And that's where this all comes from, the motivation of it, from working with people from the alcohol, from the drug addiction model. And then we have preparation. They finally say, you know what, I'm ready to change. But we can't make people change, okay? Only who can change themselves? Except a light bulb, right? A light bulb, you have to change yourself. All right? And then we have action, taking steps, working on relapse, as Dr. Teen talked about. We want to watch it, we don't relapse. We don't want to go back to what we used to be. We want to move forward. All right? And then maintenance. I mean, again, relapse prevention. Protect yourself. You know what I'm saying? If you have, we live in California, you've got earthquakes, we got to do things to watch ourselves. All right? Okay. Transactional analysis. We're moving here. Eric Berne talks about everyone has 3 egos, parent, child, adult. The goal is to find and use your adult ego state. I once got called up by a dean. He said, Dr. Rubenstein, how do I explain psychotherapy? What are you doing? I said, I know what I'm doing. I said, you know what? I think I work with adults who are children. That's what I do. And the children who are the adults. So I don't know so I got to get it straightened out over here. This is, to me, one of the most important things that we have to deal with people. A lot of times when we're dealing with people, they're acting like children, or they're acting like parents, but try to get the adult. That's what we want. We want the adult. We'll see why. In birth stages, a parent can give us 2 areas. And again, it's not so cut and dry. They can be a benevolent parent, they can be a critical parent. The child can be creative or can be rebellious. The adult, and I didn't realize when I did this, a lot of things sometimes is unconscious. I have to give Freud some credit. ABC. The adult is benevolent and creative. Okay? He wants the adult what you want, ego. You want to be benevolent, you want to be creative. You don't want to be rebellious, you don't want to be critical. Okay? When a parent gives too much criticism, that child ends up with very, very poor self-esteem. It's not going to be motivated. When a country tells its people, you have no rights, you have no voice, what are you being told? It's like a child. You tell the child, you know what? You have nothing to say here. This is what happens with teenagers. I work with a lot of teenagers. There is so much rebellion because this kid is 16 now. They're an adult. They're twice your size also. Okay, so you better listen to them, okay? Because when the cops come, they'll take you both away. Not just him. That's just you. They'll take you both. All right? You got to listen to them. Keep the communication open. I want to stress communication because that is the road. That is the road of how we're going to get to where we're going to get. When you keep communication open, I've seen this, teenagers taught me. When I can't talk to my parents anymore, that's it. You're going to lose them. And you're going to lose them badly. And you want to bring them back. Whatever you do, keep the communication open even when they're in trouble. Okay? All right. Transpersonal psychology, the 4th force. There are many forces in the development of philosophy of psychology. Positive view of human nature, added spirit, added soul, traditional healing, hypnosis, martial art, clairvoyance. This is Michael Murphy. Schizotypal. Schizophrenic. He's talking about clairvoyance. But we label people who have clairvoyance. Dream work, psychic experience, psychoticism, prison. How do we know that continuum of people who suffer mental illness? But this is what's going on in transpersonal psychology, ghosts and spirits. We're studying ghosts. I'm going to lock up Stanley Krippner. I'm going to put him in an IMD. What do you mean, studying ghosts? All right? Very popular movies lately, some of those, all right? And the peak experience. Spiritual psychology, we are not human beings having a spiritual experience, but we are spiritual beings having a human experience. Teilhard de Chardin. One of my favorites, I got to do a paper on him when I was in high school. I never knew I would revisit him because he was hard to read in French. I couldn't read French, so I did it in English. All right. The holistic world, energy healing, recognizes spirit, soul, mind, body, spirit, encompasses deep faith belief. Our body is a reflection of the spirit, and that condition of our spirit is mirrored in the health and well-being of the body. Holistic healing, respect our body, heal our relationships, care for the environment, show love for all mankind, and live our life with purpose. All right? 4 areas of health and balance. Spiritual, we talked about. We end up where there's a problem in how connected or disconnected we are. To be connected, we want soul, purpose, divine connection. Mental, positive, negative, we want the positive focus, the goal setting, emotional, we want joy rather than fear. Release the past, forgiveness. Physical, functioning versus dysfunction, nutrition, exercise, health, and environment. Cognitive therapy, how am I doing? I have a few more minutes? All Good. All right, good, thank you. Okay. And if you want this PowerPoint, they're great for placemats. You can give me your email and we'll get them to you, okay? Cognitive therapy, I want to bring in Aaron Beck right now. I went to one of his all-day lectures. Let me tell you something, I was depressed when I left. He's a wonderful guy. Don't take it the wrong way. But he is absolutely boring. I'm like getting depressed. I said, I can't take this. I'm going to need antidepressants. ECT, get me out of here. But the man is brilliant, but he needs to send someone else to lecture. I couldn't have it. I said, send Irving Yalom or something. You know? Let me listen to him. I can listen for weeks. So Aaron Beck says, thinking influences behavior. It's kind of my own paraphrasing. Faulty thinking has adverse impact on functioning. Assumptions are roadblocks. You know, I love it. I get a couple together. Everyone's got assumptions about it. Assumptions always get us in trouble. Get the facts, or get as much facts as possible. Negative thinking is learned and result in cognitive distortions. The key word is, oh good, I love this. Is the fact that you can unlearn something. See how I learned this? I came in today. This was a great teacher. Thank you very much. I want to hear. Let's have a round of applause for this gentleman, all right? It took me 6 weeks to learn how to do this in another place. He 1 minute he had it done. So again, with this means that you can learn things. It's not like you are biologically determined and you can't get beyond it. By the way, a lot of people, and help me out here, do misunderstand Freud a lot, including myself. But Freud said, let me tell you something. When you get older, remember, you can do something about your life. Okay? It's hard when you're a child, but let me tell you, you get another opportunity. I'll throw out a word, Peter Bloss, if you ever want to look up Peter Bloss, who writes about adolescent differentiation. Could go on forever with all these different areas. But what I found in all the models, it's amazing. The eclecticism, how it all comes together. We're all talking the same real language. All right? And it's humanism. All right? So, we go to the next one. 7 cognitive distortions. And this is what we do a lot. And this affects how you ever sit in a meeting? I'm sure if you sat listen to the Senate, listen to any government meet, or any school meet, or any meeting, you're going to get some of this going on, okay? Arbitrary inference entails drawing conclusions in the absence of supporting evidence. You know, I get accused of that all the time by my wife, okay? Selective abstraction, I get accused of all of these. Dwelling on negatives and ignoring the positives. With mental illness or anything else, we're always looking at people's negatives. The parents say, Billy, you really should dress nicer, Billy. We're hearing the negative, not the positive. Focus on the positive. Or, Billy, you're a bad boy because you did that. Billy's not a bad boy because he did that. Maybe what Billy did, that you don't like Billy to do. The language is powerful, even though it's not the major victory. It's not the major victory, but it is powerful. You know, what's that old saying? Sticks and stones may break my bones. I said, words won't hurt me. I said, that's not true. I said, I was always getting hurt when I was a kid hearing bad words, you know? So, growing up in Memphis, Tennessee, you learn how to run real fast, okay? I could dance, okay? Overgeneralization, making a negative generalization based on specific events. Magnification, minimization, perceiving something as far more or less significant than it is. Personalization, this gets us in a lot of personalized things. Making an external event personal, labeling and mislabeling. Well, what do you know? I didn't know that I had the title labeling. And I said, I threw this in last minute, didn't I, Alex? He knows, okay? And there we go, we got labeling, defining one's identity based on mistakes, not on what you do well, okay? We need a little bit more narcissism, right? You may like yourself better. Yeah, I'm really good, let me pat my back. Polarization, all or nothing thinking. This is what we want to work on. We tell someone comes this to me, you know what, people aren't going to, no one's going to want to date me. I have a mental illness. I said, no, that's not true. I'm mental illness, I'm married. I tell my lawyer, says, I'm crazier than you. What are you talking about? I have an answer for everyone who comes back to me. I said, when you are nutty or not, then we can talk, okay? But if I can make it, and get one of these. They can never wear a tie. Wear a tie, I feel very insecure. I don't know. They don't know who's a psychologist. So stop wearing a tie. Therapist role: collaborative, genuine, unconditional, positive regard, empathy. Again. Sounds like the same old thing. I just take the names off and just hear the same thing. It's the same old thing. I'm going to get into Memphis singing. That's another time. All right. Belief that the client can learn healthy thinking. We believe. If you don't believe, and that's what Vera Beck said, it's the belief. You've got to believe you can do it. Because if you're not going to do it. I used to do a lot of hypnosis with sports, athletes, this and that, and they don't believe. I said, what do you need hypnosis for? You just got to work on your belief. You got to believe in yourself. I'm going to put you under. Okay, you go under, and then I'm doing my paperwork. I'll wake you up 6 weeks later. Concept, and then of course, concept of cognitive shift and flexibility. Immediate thought associations now with mental illness. Anybody have any immediate association thoughts? Now they want to share. We're back where we started, there, aren't we? What? Any thought associations now? Yes. Hope. Misinformation. Empathy. Okay. Judgment. Look at it. Hope and empathy. See, we started. We got hope. We got empathy. Get all that stuff. How we can change our thinking, and we did it. We just did it. We just did some Aaron Beck stuff here. We did some cognitive shifting, strength-based oriented. Look at the strengths. We want to look at the weaknesses. Obviously, I mean, if you're gonna run a country, it's not like you say, okay, open door policy, come get what you want. You have to have some degree of reality, right? We won't get into that. So here we go. Well, I don't know what's happening. Oh, we have an exercise here. We have a time. Identify one self-directed negative label, and identify one other directed negative label, and identify its opposite and antonym. I did this at an in-service, and someone said, are you talking about the national antonym? And I go, okay. All right. I went like this. Okay. So, antonym, I just put it there, I know that was pretty bad, but it's true. It's the national antonym. So we have the opposite here. Think about that for, what you would do if you had to pick one thing, that's self-directed. You can think about it. If you want to share it, that's fine. Or apply to whatever you want. Then you can make a cognitive shift and look at strength-based. I know it's hard to believe that any of us in here would have a negative label, self-directed. Right? I had one of the scholars that I like to read his books. He wrote an article that 99% of people have poor self-esteem. Okay, so someone wrote it back, to the editor, and he said, how dare you say that? 99% of people, we have so many great leaders and great this. How can you dare say that? So the next week I watched the paper and got to bed, and he agreed and said, you're absolutely right. You're right. 100% of the people have poor self-esteem. I said, I love that. So with that, we all know that we have, we have some references there in that respect. One more thing I want to do before the questions, talk about, I'm going to ask everyone to do something with me, okay? All right? Okay? I'm a very non-interactive guy, all right? Okay? I used to be in a band. I used to be a drummer and a singer. Just a little couple of stuff. My parents were poor immigrants. I was once accused of being spoon-fed, nice Jewish wealthy boy. But I had to work through throwing newspapers and bussing tables and taking a lot of you-know-what from people. But I learned one thing is keep going and keep actualizing and keep moving. Okay, now keep moving. So what I want to do is I want everyone to get up. Can you all stand up? Okay, because we're going to do something for a minute. All right? Okay? All right? One of my favorite singers is James Brown. All right? Okay. So what I want to do with you, I want to sing. No, I know I'm not Michael Jewson. Maybe I'll change my name. I want to sing my favorite song, and some of you may remember it. I Feel Good. Anybody know that? Yeah. Just a few choruses. I feel good. Like I knew I would.